guys, I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to try in one hit non-stop to give you a full bow drill demonstration. So I've got all the kit laid out behind me. I'm going to move in a minute so that you can see some of it. I'm going to go through the kit, I'm going to go through the process from marking, bedding in, cutting out the notch, and then hopefully blow into flame. So I hope this helps you guys understand some of the practices that are involved. So obviously with bow drill, first of all, the kit that we need. Obviously you need a bow. Now I'm not going to go into a great detail on sizes. People say that from fingertip to sternum is the perfect length, but I can assure you longer or shorter works. It just has its advantages and disadvantages, and you need to work through that to find out what works best for you. We need a baseboard. Now this one has already got a little bedded in notch, but I'm going to use a different one. So this baseboard is lime, I think. Yep, so that's lime. Thickness wise, as you can see, it's probably as thick as my finger, maybe not as thick as my thumb, but that's about the thickness you want. But again, it varies. You can have a thicker baseboard, you can have a thinner baseboard. It depends on what you're doing, and it depends on the combinations. Drill. Now this is a fairly long drill. Size wise, it should realistically be from sort of like wrist to the bend of your arm, so this is slightly longer. I tend to use longer drills because I'm doing this so often. If I use a normal length drill, it'll wear down too quickly, or it wears down too fast and I need to cut, so I cut longer ones. You obviously have a narrow point on one end, which is where the bearing block's going to go on it, and you have a more pronounced point on the other. Now you notice on this there is actually a point rather than it being rounded, and that comes into its own when you start to bed into a new hole. That little bit of a point there gives you an easier starter when you're bedding into a new board. Bearing block, basically that's a half round to hold in your hand with a small depression in it. That's to accept the top part of the drill. You can use wood, you can use all sorts of materials. Personally, I quite like using limpet shells, and I use two of those, one over the top of the other to dissipate the heat. The other item you need is an ember pan. In the woods I tend to use these, just bits of cut metal, tin can, and that's because they stand out on the woodland floor and I don't lose them. However, a piece of birch bark or a leaf, anything like that, will work just as fine. I've also got a Sharpie marker, which you'll see why in a minute when I start demonstrating. I'm also going to be using a Mora knife and a backhoe folding saw. Because I'm doing it on concrete and because I'm an old fart, I'm also using a kneeling pad just to protect my knees when I kneel down. So basically what we need to do, you need to take your baseboard and you need to work out where you're going to drill. So as I said, I'm going to ignore that one. And the way I normally do this is place your drill level with the edge of the baseboard. So if I was going to be drilling in on this edge, place your drill level with it and then make a mark on this side of your drill. So you can use your knife for this normally. Just place your knife on the side of the drill. But for me, I'm going to use the Sharpie marker, so there. So the little black dot there is where I'm going to cut my initial depression with the knife to start bedding this in. So I'm going to change position so I can use the knife safely. I'll try and keep everything in shot for you guys so you can see what's going on. So where that little black dot is, I'm going to place the tip of the knife on there and just turn that round to dig in a little bit of a divot. Look at it. Hoping you guys can see. Yeah, you can see that. It doesn't need to be much, and this again is the advantage of having that little point on the end of the drill. Okay, little depression there. So now what I'm going to do is take my drill, load it into the bow, and this again is something that people struggle with. So again, I'll give you The idiot proof guide. It's got to be idiot proof because I do it. I put the point to my palm, put it under the string, put your thumb on top, take it over so that both ends of the drill are on the outside of the string, and then stand it up. That way your drill is on the outside of the string, not the inside. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is put my foot on here just to bed this in. So I'm not going for an ember or anything like that at the minute, I just want to bed this in. Limpet shells on top, get myself set, and then just gently, a little bit of downward pressure because we want this to stay in place just to bed it into the board. That's why you use 2 limpet shells. So one has gone through. So I'll swap over to using wooden bearing block. So I might need to point this drill a little bit more. Okay, so you can see that's burning in nicely. Stop, place everything down. So you can see the difference now on my drill is more rounded than it was before. Okay, I want to keep that off the floor, don't put that on the floor now that that's hot. But what I will do is just improve that point slightly. Ready for drilling again now that I'm using the bearing block. If you get too much friction on your bearing block, it's going to hinder your bowing. It should be very easy, very smooth. Shouldn't be a lot of effort involved. If you're getting too much smoke coming from your bearing block, you can put a little bit of green leaf in the top of that. Okay, so you can now see the new hole or divot that I've put into that board. What I need to do now is dissect this. We want 1/8. Okay, so you're going to cut it up as if it was a piece of cake or a pizza, whatever you desire. So the way that I do this, first of all, so this is the front edge. We divide it in half. You can do this with scratching across with your knife. Okay, we're going to half that again. Okay, so that we now have quarters. We need to half our quarters. Okay, like so, so that we have 1/8. But this is the section at the top that we want here. So because we've got 2/8, that's still a quarter, so we need to half those again. Okay, which gives us 1/16. That's not perfect, but it's near enough. So this is the section that I want to cut out, that section there. Okay, now you can do this completely with the knife, but for speed I'm going to use the folding saw. When you're using the saw, you must make sure you go well inside those lines. Do not cut on the line, otherwise your notch will be too wide. So cut inside the line. So I'm putting my thumb there to judge where I want this saw cut to be, and I will show you guys in a minute. First cut has just gone into the black circle. Okay, So that is the segment now cut out. Okay, but you can see that clearly on the camera. There you go. Okay, but it's very rough, so I need to smooth that off. So I'm going to finish that using the knife just to smooth these walls off and also make that notch a nice 1/8 in width. Now we've played around with notch widths, and when they are wider it doesn't work as well, and when they are narrower it doesn't work as well. So an 1/8 seems to be the perfect width for your notch. Good tip when you're starting to learn this, start off in the middle of the board. If you're at the end and you're trying to cut notches, you're going to struggle with no board to hold. So start in the middle, gives you plenty of board to hold. Depth wise for the notch, you do not want it to go to the centre. You want it to stop short. Okay. And the other thing I'm going to do is just open out the bottom a little bit, widen the bottom of that notch, as this will give the ember, when I form it, a conical effect. Rather than having straight walls, it'll be slightly wider at the bottom, which gives your ember a more stable base. Okay, so you can just see the bottom there, I've just widened it slightly, just slightly wider here, and that's because with the walls straight, when you take your baseboard away, your ember can fall over. With it being slightly wider at the bottom, it's more stable, so it tends not to fall over, it doesn't destroy it. Okay, so that's ready to go. Birds joining in. Trying to make sure this is all in camera shot for you guys. Okay, so I've got my nest tinder bundle ready and some fluffy stuff, which is great to read my seed heads. So get everything ready, and this time we will be going for an ember. So I'm going to put my ember pan, which is a big piece of birch bark, underneath the notch, and that is to catch your ember. Don't forget, we need to manoeuvre this ember and move it around. Obviously you guys will be wearing appropriate footwear and not flip-flops, possibly. Okay, the stance is very important. Get a nice square section here between your legs. Your back foot doesn't want to be in line, because then you're going to be wobbling. So get your ankle across here so it forms that nice triangular base. You're now steady. When I go to bow, my left shoulder is going to drop onto my left knee, and I'm going to relax. That takes the weight off your back muscles. You'll see people doing bow drill and the back will start to ache. Just drop down onto your leg, let your leg support your weight. My left arm is going to come around this leg. This part of my wrist I'm going to lock against my shin, and that is going to hold the drill perfectly straight above the hole that I'm drilling into. Okay, so loading the drill again. Point to palm, under the string, thumb on top, take it forwards and stand it up. Once you've got that, keep hold of it around the drill and string, and you're good to go. Take the bearing block, put it on top. Make sure everything's steady. Make sure there's nothing going to catch, nothing in your way. You do not want this process interrupted, ideally. Okay, and the bow, keep it nice and flat and steady. Do not be giving it this with your arm, because your bow is going to be wobbling up and down. Try and keep it flat and level, parallel to the ground. And then just start very slowly and listen to the sound. It's going to be a bit gravelly to start with, and it should get smoother, and the sound changes with each stage. As you start to get smoke, the sound will change, and as you start to get a good coal, the sound will change again. Moving the watch strap, which we're digging in. You do not need go hell for leather, just take it easy, we're just warming everything up. Save your energy for later. If it's a difficult condition to get an ember, if it's cold, if it's damp, you need your energy to really put some heat into that ember, so just take your time. I'm getting smoke, you've heard the sound change already, it's gone very smooth. and I'm watching the notch fill up with powder. Keep this bow flat and level, keep the drill still, do not let the drill pull away from your shin. Nice and steady. A little bit of smoke coming from the bearing block, that's not an issue at the moment. So my notch is now full of powder, so at this point if I wish to I can go a little bit faster to put more heat into it. I've got an ember, you can see smoke coming from the bottom, so I'm going to give it a little bit more beans just to really cook that ember, and then stop carefully. Place your bow down, don't put the drill on the ground again, keep it off the floor. Put your finger on your baseboard before you move your foot. The knife blade's just going on top of the ember to keep that in place whilst I move the baseboard away. Now, interesting point, the powder that is built up on top there, that's excess powder. The notch was probably slightly too small, so that is still fuel, so we can use that. And what we'll do with that is put it straight on top of this ember. That gives the ember more fuel to burn into. At this point, don't move it, leave it alone. You want that to coalesce, and coalescing is where it's going to get hotter and hotter and it's going to form a solid lump. Too many people move it straight away, and it's very delicate at this point. You want to leave it, you want to let it bind together and get hotter and hotter. Whilst it's doing that, you can prepare your tinder bundle. If the wind's blowing too much, put your baseboard in front of it to block it from the wind, but use your drill to prop it up. You don't want your baseboard falling over onto it. So, tinder bundle wise, here I'm using cleavers, goosegrass, sticky willy, whatever you want to call it, gallium aperine. Nice tight bunch, twist it, want all those loose ends in together, and then I'm going to double it over to form my nest, my tinder bundle nest, and that's where I'm going to put my ember extender. The ember extender that I'm using today is Greater Reed Mace seed heads. So the sausages on a stick round a duck pond. Yeah, Greater Reed Mace seed heads. There's probably some mix of thistledown in there as well. And then we're going to put that into the centre of our nest and then close it in. Now the ember I've not touched. You can give it a little waft. What we're looking for is a red glow. So I'm going to risk bringing it to the camera. Okay, so there you can see we've got a nice little smoking ember, and it's that that's going to give us our flame, hopefully. Okay, normally you wouldn't move your ember around, you would always bring your tinder bundle to your ember, and then you would simply put your ember straight into your tinder bundle. You don't want to mess it around too much. Okay, so I've made a nice little platform. I'm going to pick up my ember, bring it across to the tinder bundle. No messing about, upside down, tip it over, a little bit of fluffy stuff over the top, and then just let that settle. And all we want to do now is give it a tiny little bit of air, just very, very gently to start with. That's a great sign. You're looking for that smoke. At this point now you want to keep that heat trapped in there. Another mistake people make is have it too loose and the ember just burns through or falls out. You want to trap all that heat and transfer the heat into your tinder bundle. Okay, so now I'm going to turn myself because the wind is going against me. And you want the wind coming on the back of your neck, not into your face. Move it away from your face when you breathe in. Obviously you don't want to be breathing in the smoke, otherwise you're going to be coughing all over the place. And we're looking for this smoke to change colour. It's a light white at the moment. We're waiting for that to go caramelly brown. When it goes caramel brown, it's about to burst into flame, so keep giving it some breath there. So keep it nice and tight and start to blow. Start to get some smoke colour change. Good smoke change there, and there we go, we've got fire. Let the flames come up through it. Move away to the little pot and dump it down before it gets too hot. So I hope that's all come through. Hope that's all come through well on the video. And again, if you have any questions, you know, get in touch with us. You know where we're at, either on the Woodland Ways Facebook page or email Woodland Ways. I know a lot of you know me personally, so you can email me or you can contact me. But I'm hoping that has helped you guys with some little tips and hints on just perfecting your bow drill skills. And now with the current situation, with everyone being in lockdown, being stuck at home, get out there every day and practice. If you're struggling with bow drill, if you're not consistent with your embers, if some days you'll get one and other days you don't, every single day go out and practice. Do it for a week. Get an ember a day for a week, practice every single day, and take 2 weeks off, and then do it for 3 weeks or 4 weeks. Do it for a month. Go out and practice an ember a day every single day for a month, and your level will just jump up. It helps massively. And then once you've got that confidence, experiment with woods. There are loads of people out there that say certain woods don't work, and as most of you know, I spent probably about 6 months last year doing lots of different combinations that were said not to work, and I got every single one of them to work. Some were easier than I expected, some were unbelievably hard. I think the hardest combination I've done so far has been seasoned hornbeam into seasoned hornbeam. It was a pig. It was an absolute pig. But even things like green hawthorn into green hawthorn, green oak into green oak, you know, I've got them to work. It's just different downward pressure, different lengths of bowing time, different warming up periods. As far as I'm aware, everything will work. You've just got to approach it from a different angle. So the only way to do it, guys, get out there, practice, stay safe. I know it's difficult to get out at the moment, but use your own back gardens, use access to woodlands if you've got it, but obviously stay safe and stay within the government guidelines, and above all, get your bushcraft practice in and get out there and just get on with it. Stay safe, guys. Thank you very much. Take care.